Welcome to this Saturday morning THT, Traders Helping Traders webinar. This is not an official training. I'm just a trader who's making a living using Apex tools. I do not get paid by Apex. The normal disclosures apply. Trading involves risk and it's not suited for everyone. Please see apexinvesting.net for full disclosures. The purpose of today's webinar is to help you learn the latest addition to the SEES Power Play family of trades using what we call brick walls. SEES started out when I started scalping slings, elevators, apex pattern E's, and swings about 3.5 years ago. It began as me just documenting my trades. I was in the elite room and at that time in the pit, and people wanted to know what I was doing, so I started documenting it. You'll notice behind nearly all the trades I take, there's a sling, an elevator, an E, or a swing to this day. I have not changed what I do. I simply have added more precision tools as Apex develops more tools. And when a trader finds something that works, they don't usually change. It might evolve a little bit, but the basics remain the same. At this time, I want to dedicate this THT to all the peeps who mark up charts and ask questions. Marking up charts this last week has allowed me to see the areas that people don't understand, and I was able to make things clearer in the forum post. And it was marking up charts where I first noticed brick walls. And thank you, Ken, for your questions about that. It's all traders helping traders. You gotta love Apex. These walls help define setups that give you the highest rates of profit that I have ever seen without thinking. You don't have to read the market much. You maybe have to use a little common sense when a setup occurs, but it's usually a good one. Nothing is 100%, but these setups with using the brick walls will help you make money while you're learning to master the market. So with that said, I'm bringing up, you see on the screen, the Power Trading with Walls new section of the forum that I just made yesterday. There is not any official Apex training on it yet. There will be, but until we get it, this is what we have to work with. It's under construction, and there's a few changes I have yet that I want to make as soon as this THT is done, but I didn't get to it this morning. So always check back. Don't just assume that what you see is the latest and greatest forever. It's always evolving and always changing. And there will always be questions that I will try to make clearer and answer on here. And that's what part of this is today. It's answering these questions and finding where you have questions. Okay, so on this forum post that we're looking at, I also put in the powerful setups link and the power plays. The power plays are just I guess I didn't put the SEES in here, did I? I guess I'll do that when I'm done today with the THT. The SEES are the very basics, and then we went to power plays, and then we went to powerful setups, and then we added the brick walls. And each time we add, we're getting it more precise with things that will help you where you don't have to read the market as well. The power plays are the most advanced. The powerful setups are the more of a beginner style, and that's what I've really focused on in these trades, making the powerful setups even better. So what is a brick wall? It's a level that occurs during a live trading session. And these levels will often be the next day's settlement or a deviation level or an ICE level. It's really pretty cool to see how important these levels become. They're either, as in this screenshot, it shows there's a cluster here, another cluster here, and a mini magnet here. When you have two clusters and a mini magnet on the same level, you have what we call a brick wall. The price will normally react to that in one way or another. And you can either have two clusters and a mini magnet, or like this shows, two mini magnets and then a cluster. And there's not a cluster on this screenshot, so I couldn't put one in, and it just, you can have two mini magnets and a cluster, or two clusters and a mini magnet, not three mini magnets, not three clusters. However, if you have a lot of clusters, or say you have a lot of clusters in a row in one price level, that's what I like to call it a ghost. I put in what I call a ghost line, which is, I put it real in a gray so it blends. I don't want it to stand out, but it's kind of showing me, something might be happening at this level. Watch for the other element. For example, if there's a lot of clusters at that level, then I might be watching for a mini magnet, or vice versa. I want to call out these levels, but it's not an actual wall until you have at least two of one and one of the other. You have to have both clusters and mini magnets. They measure different things, they show us different things, and they are important in different ways. So we need both of them. Okay, and that's all laid out in the forum post. And I even talk about a ghost line, and I forgot to put one in. I was working on all these things all day yesterday. I forgot to put in a ghost line. I wanted to make an example of it, but I did not do that. My apologies. Okay, so we've seen what what a brick wall is. It's when a cluster and mini magnets, two clusters and a mini magnet, or two mini magnets and a cluster fall at the same level. They can vary by up to 3 ticks. That means you could have this cluster a level down, and this cluster a level up, and this mini magnet on this level, and it's still a brick wall. You could have one of these 2 ticks up. It doesn't matter, just so that they're no more than 3 ticks apart from the farthest 2 entities. 4 ticks doesn't mean a thing. It probably means you're going to have some chop in the area. There's an area of congestion, but to make a wall at this point, we have to have 2 of one, two clusters or 2 mini magnets, and one of the other, 1 cluster or 1 mini magnet combined. And the walls, how long are the walls good? They are good until the price no longer reacts to them. That does not mean good until broken, because the price went through this. Does that mean it's broken and no longer valid? No. It means that when the price goes through and doesn't hesitate, it doesn't retrace, it doesn't cause an elevator, it doesn't do anything, then you can take it off. And generally, I've seen these elevators brick walls, last for weeks. So I don't like to take them off. I haven't taken off any yet because they are no longer valid. I have taken off some just to make it clearer on my chart, because it gets a little crazy sometimes. A lot like a lot of clusters in one area, or a lot of mini magnets in one area, a lot of walls will signify chop. And must have been practicing, Grant. No, I didn't. Well, kind of. I've been teaching this so much in the past week, I'm getting pretty okay at it, I guess. I'm trying to think of all the questions people ask me as we're going. What makes up a wall? Let's see, what else? The wall gets stronger the more mini magnets and or clusters that are added. If a wall is hit again and again and again, that's likely to be a really strong level for a while, for as long as the price is in the area. Generally, the price will move to another area and leave all these walls behind, and that's fine. Leave them there. If the price drops down, like yesterday, the price was all over the place. So it went back down in areas where we had walls marked before. But they last for a long time, generally speaking. And if I have a really strong magnet wall, sorry, they are a type of a magnet. If I, like, for example, I mark this one here, this rose-colored one, this tells me this is an incredibly strong magnet. It's been there for weeks. So I make it in a different color so I know if there's magnets right close around it, or if there's walls close around it that come in, I'm going to take them out most likely to keep it a little clearer on my chart, because too many, they're crazy. And then I changed, these walls are from Thursday. I changed color so I could see which ones were fresh, because we were getting quite a few. So I started changing some colors, and you'll see these are a yellowy. These were older ones, and this was from Wednesday, I believe. Could have my days mixed up, but I tried to change colors just slightly. Now I'm not talking about my volume magnets. I'm talking about my walls. These are all walls. All these lines are walls. And when you get a lot, I mean, you don't always have this many in one place. So as you move through the day and you move through, they'll come and go. This is all weeks mini walls, and I will probably end up taking a bunch out just for my own clarity, but I want to keep the strongest ones. You can see this one, for example, the price reacted every time it got near it. Bounced off it, came down, created some chop. It formed, this one right here, formed the top of the chop box. Many, many, many times you will have a chop box defined by walls. We didn't know that before. So now we know. The way to save your walls from day to day is to save your workspace. Just put them on your chart, and you have to save your workspace, or you will not have them from day to day. The other question that comes up is, how far back do I go to look for walls? Well, you can look as far back as you want, I guess. I generally want mini magnets and clusters that have been laid down relatively close in time to each other. If you have a mini magnet from yesterday and you have several clusters from today, it's valid. If you're checking, if you're doing some replay and you replay the day before so you can get a few magnets, a few walls. I'm sorry, I keep calling them magnets. I mean walls. Hear what I mean on that one, not what I say. I don't know why magnets is stuck in my head. My apologies. But if you do a replay and you want to get some from the day before, just so that you have extra walls in there, don't overthink it and worry about, oh, I got to get 3 days before because they're really valid. You can probably use them 3 days. Nah, just get what stands out. What jumps out at you? These brick walls are there to scream at you for levels of importance. And if they're not screaming at you, they're probably not important. I don't worry about every single little wall. I mean, in the elite room, we're kind of comparing in the morning before open. Do we, what are your levels? What are your levels? I mean, that's fabulous. We will, a little excitement here. I'm really excited about this. We will have these auto plotting on our chart. So you won't have to worry about it eventually, but you'll know how to plot them, and you'll know what goes in behind them. So you guys are lucky on that. Someone just asked, do we do the whole day or just the normal open? When I plotted my lines, I can only speak for what I've done to this point, because these are so new. I haven't had a chance to even really go back and test a whole lot as far as which ones are more important, are times of the day better, whatever. I really don't know for sure on that, But what I have found is I trade from open until no later than 11:30. The very latest I usually trade is noon. I'm done in an hour. And I do not sit here and plot magnets all day long. I do let my charts run. I'll kind of glance at it at the end of the day. I'm usually doing something at my computer and, checking charts or whatever. And I will check and see what levels, if there's something that stands out. But I don't go back and study and pay attention to, oh my gosh, I got to get every single little level here, or, I want the ones that stand out. I have noticed that just plotting the ones that I do in the morning, for me, since I trade in the morning, it seems to work really well. I don't worry about getting every one or going back and checking and spending hours getting walls. I don't do it. The ones in the morning is on NQ for the main. I mean, that's what I'm trading, so that's what I'm speaking of for the most part. They are working on everything else that anyone I've seen is using them on. But right now I'm speaking toward NQ. For example, I trade for 2 hours in the morning maximum. I plot the walls for those 2 hours. That's when the best volatility is usually. Sometimes it isn't, but as a general rule, it is. And if we've had good trades and good movement in the morning, I'm going to plot those walls. If we've had nothing, I might go ahead and check out the walls in the afternoon and see what's happened. If we've had really good moves in the afternoon and we didn't in the morning, when did it move? What time do you trade? What instrument do you trade? When is its best moved? That's probably when I'm going to get my brick walls from. So that is generally when I get them. We'll know more as we go along, and we'll keep adding to the forum post on what other people discover on other markets. But they have been doing great on the sixes. I've seen a few people trading them on the sixes, and they've been doing great. We've also gone back to some of the old forum posts, the charts that I have for examples on the forum post. And Gary went back and went through replay and plotted walls to see if the examples that I put in the forum post for powerful setups, if those had brick walls. And sure enough, there was brick walls behind those. The powerful setups that don't work, nothing is 100%. We know that. Those are generally the ones without walls. For a power trade, for a power play, the actual power play, I still want a major level, but I also want a brick wall. Here's a good example. It's actually kind of hard to see, but 62, well, I guess it's not a good example because it went further on on more volume, so that's not a power play. But an example here would be you have settlement, your major level, and you also have a wall, your major level. So that's what I like to see when I'm doing a power play, when I'm doing a powerful setup, and those are listed. I've gone through each one on this screenshot on this forum post. I've gone through all my favorite setups and how I see them affecting these trades. So basically, the first part of the forum post explains how you get the levels, how the strength goes, when they're no longer good, which is when the price stops reacting to them. And is there any questions before we move on to using them in setups? Is there any more questions on getting the brick wall? Kevin asks, so should we not take a powerful setup with just a wall? No, a powerful setup is so confusing, and I try to make this clear. We're going to redo the training so that it is very clear. A power play, I want a big level. A powerful setup, which is, let's look back here. A powerful setup. I put the link to it here. So a powerful setup is your power E, your power X. Okay, your power plays are the 4 plays that they are the double tops that went higher with lower volume. The power play is it went lower with more volume. You had double hidden divergence was number 3, and a breakout of chop is number 4. Those power plays still require a major level, but I also want a brick wall. The powerful setups are some specific setups with the power E, the power X, a breakout of chop with a wall that's kind of really close to a power play. There's not a lot of difference there. And the hidden double divergence with a mini magnet. And I also want a brick wall to bounce off. But I explain all that further on in this post. So you've got it in writing. You'll have it in this THT also. So power play, which is generally a big play that is expected to go, it's kind of a bigger picture play. So for those of you that aren't scalpers, your power play is your bigger play. Your powerful setup is just really powerful, little bit, maybe not overall as big a setup as the power play, but they don't take as much subjectivity to them. They're a little more objective, easier to trade. Okay, any other questions on the brick walls, how we obtain them, before I move on? Okay, I'm going to move on. Okay, so I kind of put them, when I did the power plays, I put them in the order that I liked them, and I'm going to do that. I did this for the for the forum post. A power P, how is that affected by a brick wall? Well, it's an apex pattern P. No, right down here. It's an apex pattern P, and it's really hard to see. Come on, trying to pop it up here. Okay, it's an apex pattern P. We want to have meeting or exceeding volume, which lately is not a problem. When we have meeting and exceeding volume all the time, I forget about it, but boy, there was a time when we couldn't forget about it. So you definitely want to keep the brick walls or keep the expected volume in mind. Lately, it hasn't been a problem. But a power P is an apex pattern P in this screenshot, and I was in a hurry to get screenshots so that you can see examples. I apologize, this isn't a very good one. You can hardly see the P, but it's there. You have a brick wall, which behind you, which is this little cream colored dot dash line. You have a cluster in the apex pattern P, and the ones I like the very best are when it also is putting a brick in the wall as it leaves, which means it's laying a mini magnet. In this case, it's laying a mini magnet right on top of this brick wall. When that happens, I've noticed that they go further. And yeah, that trade lasted a whole 7 minutes. Those are the ones I kind of like. You get the fast and zip down, get in, get out, you're done. One and done. I love those. So it had the brick walls behind it to bounce off from. Apex pattern P, of course, a cluster. And it had exceeding volume. And I also like, I didn't have the screenshots for the order prints, but I check order prints to see what the total volume is on this bar. I want it to be rather large. The bigger it is, the better it is. It's probably going to go somewhere. So that's your power P with a brick wall. Okay, now the power X. Not a lot of difference there, except you have an X that is a order print X. Now, the order print X is usually a reversal bar. It can be and has been every now and again a continuation. It'll be in the middle of a run, one way or the other, and it can still be valid if it's a continuation. It's not very often that happens, but every now and again it does. You have the absorption X. You have an existing brick wall that the bar is bouncing off from. You have a cluster, and you have exceeding or meeting expected volume. And again, I want to check order prints to see if it's got a nice big number down here. And I didn't get a screenshot of the order prints. My apologies there. I like it even better if it lays another brick in the wall before it goes. And this one almost did. There's not a wall here, but it almost formed a brick wall. Not quite. It's a little too far apart. But those tell you those are going to be even better usually. If you have it laying a brick in the wall as you leave, ooh, I love those. Any questions on the Power X using brick walls? You just want that brick wall to be within 5 ticks of the end of the bar. What other kinds of numbers I like to see on OP for the reversal bar? I want them to be larger than the previous bars before them. Now, sometimes you'll get the two last bars, the reversal bar and the bar before it. You'll notice there'll be a lot of volume on both of those bars. And sometimes you'll see where the reversal bar doesn't go very much farther, and that's just because of the size of the ticks. If the two of them combined are big, that's okay. It doesn't have to necessarily be bigger than the one just before it, but if I'm looking at this bar, I want it to be bigger than most of the bars in this run. Okay, so we need big numbers always to take off the trades or just the setup. I want a big number. It doesn't have to be huge, but I do want it to be bigger than, relatively speaking, relative to the bars around it, I want it to be bigger than the bars around it. If I have a 7,000 contract bar, I'm looking at OP when I look at that, at those numbers. If this bar, for example, is 7,000 and the rest of these are in the 300s, and is something getting ready to go? Yeah, it is. It is absolutely, it's working up. And you can see right in here where you had this bar, and then you had this one going up, another one coming down, and another one with a wick. That's actually coil chop here at the bottom. It's coil chop, and the Power X told us which way it was going out of chop. I mean, we didn't have the chop when the X appeared. Our stop is a tick below this bar, and in fact, I generally will put the stop below the level if it's within 5 ticks. Sometimes I'll put it below the wall in case it comes down to test the wall. But the stop is still generally a tick below the bar. And this one would have been really hard to sit through because it came all the way back down, almost close to your stop, and this one came even further down. So do you have to sit through some? Yeah, sometimes it's hard, but if you have your stop in the right place, you generally will be rewarded, and this was quite the reward. How far away from the reversal bar can the Power X be? It has to be on the reversal. Well, no, that's not necessarily true. I just said it doesn't have to be a reversal. It can be a continuation. So it can be anywhere, I guess. I'm thinking of our old Power X rules because we used to use it as just a reversal. But really, it can be anywhere as long as it's pushing off from a wall. I like it better when it's right on the reversal bar. I want my cluster on the power X, and I want a wall, a brick wall, to be on the other side of that. If it's barely crossing if I have a brick wall barely crossing through the bottom of the level, that's okay. To me, so far that seems to go just fine. If it's crossing through the middle, I still really want one on the end. They work much better when you've got one near the very end. How many bars in the trend before you're concerned about taking a reversal? I don't count. I just look at the setup. I have a power X, I have a wall, I have a cluster, I'm going. So that's I follow my chart setup. I don't feel the need to overthink it too much. Do I use a little common sense? And if the other day we had a really huge trend going down, and we got a couple of power X's on the elevators. If you've got every indicator on your chart telling you it's going down and you've got one little power X going up, I'm not going to take that. After a long run going down, am I going to take the first reversal? Probably not. I'm going to use a little common sense when I do these, but the strength of the setup, the more perfect the setup, the more likely it is to profit. And, as every setup that there is out there, not every one of them works. We've seen a few that don't. Even sometimes the best setups sometimes don't work. But the rate of these things working is incredibly high. Even with the larger stop, if you did not, a lot of times I'll put my entry after my entry hit the actual entry. I will sometimes put my entry down further to catch a retrace, and sometimes I miss the trade doing that. But sometimes I do that to get less risk. So my stop is in the same place, but my entry might be down here somewhere where I have less risk instead of way up here. But you have to let the entry hit. You have to let the price hit your entry first if you're going to do that. And you have to be prepared to miss some trades if you're going to do that, because you do miss them sometimes. It's a chance you're taking that it will retrace them. Do I use walls to manage the trade? I absolutely do. I watch where, for example, let me make this bigger here. Okay, so we can see these are all walls. Okay, and we have a wall at the top of this. You have a wall, and you have a mini magnet, and you have a swing level. That's a little strong there. So when I'm coming through here, I'm not going to worry. I have a really nice setup. I have a brick wall. I have a cluster that's, the cluster's almost the same level with these mini magnets. So I like that. But it adds a little strength to me. But then we have our X. I love that. Okay. So the entry would be, and it's right at the half deviation. What happens at the half deviation? Do we expect a low chop? We should always expect a low chop at the deviation level. You had a little chop on top of it. It went through. Now, are you going to have some chop on the bottom? Yeah, you're probably going to. So if you get in right away, if you put it at the correct level, you better be prepared to leave your stop where it is and sit through it. And when I get through, I'm going to look, when I get going and start making profit, I'm going to look, where's my next most likely place. For me, I use target levels as far as where I think I'm going to pull my stop up a little bit. I do not use a target stop on my ATM. I never want to limit what the market wants to give me. I shove my stops or my take profits out of the way, and I always pull up my stops to protect profit instead of use a take profit. But on this one, I would expect around this level, I'm going to start pulling my stop up, and I'm going to pull it up. I might, when it gets up here, I might pull it up a little bit to protect a little bit here. But when the price gets up and I'm starting to get in the profit, I want to give it room, because these normally work really well. So I have no problem giving them room. And the other thing I noticed is you happen to have long ice nodes here. And where did it turn around? Right where the ice node, where there wasn't an ice node. It went down, got to where there was no, barely see that, but anyway, then I'm gonna start to protect here first. And when it gets up past here, I'm gonna pull my stop up and protect here. Then where am I gonna protect next? Probably this level here. You've got a green ice, you've got a mini magnet, you've got a deviation level, and a wall up here. So I'm probably going to start protecting here, but I'm going to expect chop. And a lot of times in the elite room, we'll kind of ask, well, geez, is it gonna hit the next wall? And once it gets a ways where I go from wall to wall. When we get a cluster up here by a wall, it's probably signaling it's nearing the end, or it's going to chop before it goes even further. So that's kind of, but John has taught ways to trail and use whatever works for you for trailing. Would you move your stop underneath the momentum bar? What do you mean by the momentum bar? These are all momentum bars. There's not even, it didn't even hesitate and create a swing, a sling. I mean, that just went right up. The stops underneath the walls as you go up. Yeah, I yes and no. The first thing I'm going to do once I'm in this trade is I'm going to look to see where do I think it's going to go and where's a reasonable place. It stopped here. I'm going to think it's likely to go here. These trade setups that I'm showing you usually will give you anywhere from 20 to 50, even 60 ticks. Gary got 100 ticks, was it yesterday morning, off of, I don't remember, Power P or Power E setup. You just give it room and let it go. But you can't have unreasonable expectations of where it's going to go. So if you don't have, if you're not really good at it, Power P is what he got. Yeah, here he got yesterday morning. Power P. It was that was an amazing, and it was just a plain old Power P with a wall and went. So, but anyway, these setups will yield more ticks than an average setup. I mean, I'm a scalper at heart. I cannot sit in a trade. I look for what makes those quick runs up. I don't want to be in a trade any longer than I have to. I don't want to be exposed to the market. I can't stay in a trade for hours like some people can. I cannot trail it for a long time. I want in and out. So these trades are what I studied and found are the ones that will go a long way in a little time. I very seldom am in a trade more than 5 minutes, as I just can't do it. Okay, what about the cluster with wall from the A to the P? I used to scalp A's. That was the part of when I first was, the very, very early days, I would scalp from the A to the P, and sometimes that's great. It is a little more unstable than scalping the P. So in this case, it actually was probably a really good setup because you had a wall right near the top. It laid down a mini magnet. You had a cluster. But it probably was a really good setup. I only want the best of the best of the best. Therefore, I'm not going to put my money at risk to do that's a pretty good one. So for me, I don't want the A's anymore. I used to scalp them with binaries back when I first started with Apex, and they're okay. But I want the best of the best. And in this one, you'll notice it even had a P with the Power X. That happens a lot. Super strong. You've got the Apex pattern telling you you're likely to go up. You've got the order print telling you you're likely to go up. You've got the triangles here from the MVP. They're still green at this point. They did change to red a little bit when we first, got in, and that would have been just a little bit scary. But flat MVP arrows, we love those because that'll usually signal a little bit of chop. And as you can see, when it crossed through there, it went great. So that's another thing that confirms that setup to me. I love that. And it looks like probably VAD. I don't know. I can't see what VAD E did. So okay, so I'm going to get off the Power X and go to the next one, which is the third bar swing. Okay, this is kind of cool. We haven't talked about third bar slings in a while. They're not part of the power plays or the powerful entries. But I have noticed with a brick wall, I've noticed a few things. And so I thought I'd throw this in here. People are still looking for these third bar slings because they're some of the best slings. And I mean, even when we just did plain old SEES, they were some of the best slings. So what makes the best of the best third bar sling? Well, of course, it has to be the third bar. I want the top, I want the reversal bouncing off a brick wall. And you can kind of see, I'm going to enlarge this in a minute, but I want to go over it all as a general overview first. You can see there's a brick wall where this reversal bar was bouncing off. I have to have a brick wall with the reversal bar before third bar sling. Okay. Then you, on a third bar sling, if it has a paw print, if that's this little orange cell at the top on here I say cell, I mean cell as being price level within the bar. Okay, so you've got this orange little price level. In a buy, it's this green little price level at the bottom indicating go up. Okay, the orange is indicating go short. You've got a bolt, which is acceleration. I want acceleration on either the net or the total volume, and a cluster. Okay, so I'm going to get in here so we can see it better. We've got expected volume meeting. Every single trade I take, I want expected volume at least meeting. This goes for everything. Okay, on the YEBA, you have a reversal bar that is bouncing off a brick wall. You have a third bar sling. You can see it comes up. You've got a 3-tick wick in this one, for example. You've got a paw print telling you you're going in the same, you should be going in the same direction as if this closes back in our direction, telling you where you're going. You have a bolt in the total. I don't care if it's a bolt in the total column or if it's a bolt in the net column. If it's a bolt in the net column, I want it to be a bolt on the short side if it's going short. If it's on the total column, I don't care which side it's on. You have a cluster, and the best of the best of the best are when the cluster in your third bar sling is on top of an existing brick wall. Oh my goodness, those are fabulous. It's not absolutely necessary, but you want a cluster on top of a brick wall is even better. You can see that brick wall. It's a third bar. It's the third one. 1, 2, 3. Third bar after a reversal. And the cluster is going through a brick wall. It's laying another brick in the wall as it's going. Got a paw print. It's got a bolt. I love those. I just thought I'd put that in there. How a wall changes our third bar sling. Pretty cool. Okay, so that's just a quick little. Okay, so now we have a power sling. I've gotten to where I don't like the power slings quite as much as some of the other ones because they can be pretty tough. The ones I like the best I put in here. First of all, you had a power play, sort of. Again, sometimes power plays are always more subjective. You had 17K in volume, you had 11K. It went further on less volume, and it bounced off a brick wall. It had a major level, green ice. So you had a power play. I don't like the distance myself between this and this. It's too far for me to be happy with that power play. But you had a cluster. You need a cluster. You have a brick wall. You have a level. All that stuff that formed, it did form a power play. Okay, well, then you're coming down, and the best swings are when you have a power play like this, and it formed a swing level. I'm going through this swing level with a cluster, and I like another brick in the wall. Normally, the cluster we want to be on the side of the swing that's going the direction we're going. For example, if we're going short, as in this, we want the cluster to be below it. The exception to that rule is this bar right here. There's a wall. This rose-colored line is a very strong wall. It laid a mini magnet, which is exactly 3 ticks, I believe, away from that wall. That is within range to be adding another brick in the wall. That's adding another mini magnet or cluster to a wall as this is forming. I love those. So when that happens, or if the cluster would be going through a brick wall, I don't care if it's not on the right side of the swing, and I get the swing. I want this fresh swing level from the power play. I want a cluster, and preferably I want a brick laid in the wall as it's going down. Those are the best. And of course, I want volume, and you'll see you got a cluster, so you're probably going to have order prints have a bigger volume, total volume here. Those are the best swing levels that I'll take. Am I going to take, if you would have had a cluster in this bar right here, for example, and say you had a cluster right here. Well, there's a brick wall here. That's kind of not what I'm wanting to have for an example. Say you had a cluster up here. You have a swing level here. It's a valid swing level, but I don't like it as much. I want it to be the swing level from this valley between a power play. Maybe I missed the power play. Maybe I'm seeing it after the fact, and that's fine. When I see a swing level come in here, I'm going to check. Did I have a power play? Oh, hey, I had a power play. Okay, this is a swing I want to take. Those are my favorite. Can I bring up the HD with the clusters? I'm getting to that, Grant. If I fire up my laptop on Monday, I won't have any brick walls plotted. Is there a way around that? If you're in the elite room, and we're comparing brick walls all the time, so you can ask in the elite room, does anybody, whatever you're trading, does anybody have it? You can run replay. You can make a list. If you didn't save your workspace, you're going to lose your brick walls for now. Eventually, we will get to where they will plot automatically and historically, which is awesome, and you'll be able to hide them. If you have too many and you don't want to see them all, you'll be able to hide them. You'll be able to hide some. So you'll be able to even hide the ones that are weaker, because it'll even tell you. This is so great. It'll tell you when you look, you'll pull up a little menu, and it'll actually tell you how many times it was hit. So you can get rid of the weaker ones. Oh, you have no idea the powerful stuff that we're going to be putting in here. And you'll see them historically. You'll see them. I mean, it's going to be amazing. We've started working on them. I am excited about it. It's going to be really cool. Okay, so I'm going to go back. So you see, I had to add that little third bar swing, and just because it's cool. And the power sling, I keep saying, power slings are great if you take the right ones. Well, for me, that's the only one I'm going to take anymore. because I only want the best of the best. As anybody in the elite room knows, and if you've seen my charts, you know I don't take a lot of trades. I don't want a lot of exposure. I don't want to keep getting in, getting out, getting in. Every time I'm exposed to the market, I'm exposed to possibly it going crazy and a loss or whatever. I mean, you always have that chance of a loss, but I mean like going crazy. Like yesterday, Friday, for example, we had a crazy day with news. It went absolutely bonkers. I did not get in any trades yesterday. I will not play in extremely volatile conditions. And every time you get in the market, you're exposing yourself to a possibility of that. So I like the fewest trades I can get. I prefer to take one and done. I don't want to trade for, if I can help it, I don't want to trade for any longer than, if I can get in one trade, 5 minutes, be done, go about my day. That's how I want to do it. So I kind of have to laugh when people say, well, I only can trade for a couple hours a day. Well, that's all I ever trade for. I never, ever, I may be at my desk, I may be helping people, I may be checking charts, but I never trade very often, more than 2 hours. I say that, and then what day was it? Wednesday or Thursday? I think I did, because it just was an amazing day, and I just couldn't. I was marking up some charts, and I'd glance at my chart, and I'd see, oh my gosh, another awesome set, another trade setting up. I got to take this one. But normally, no. I actually, a lot of times I'll even shut my charts down. So I don't trade more than I like to trade for 15 minutes if I can and get done. So it just yeah, telling me you can only trade for 2 hours a day or an hour a day. Yeah, that's all I trade for. Okay, breakout a chop. Breakout a chop's a power play. It is, but this using a wall, it actually will show you a little bit more of how to go about finding the better breakout. This is the thing that everyone's had a harder time figuring out, the chop breakout. It's always one that people get caught on the fake break every time. For example, we would tend to usually we'd start this, you see this come down, and I'm going to automatically, my eye goes to here, and I'm going to draw a low chop box around this in my head every time. So it comes here, and it's already broke my low chop box where this brick wall is. Okay, a fake break. How did I know this was a fake break and I didn't want to take it? There was nothing giving me a clue telling me it was going to break out. So when it gets down here, I make my chop box a little bit bigger and I wait. And if you look here, you'll see 1,100 total compared to 400, 400, 100. On this reversal bar, it was 1,500. Okay, well, 1,100, if that's a little bit more, and you have a paw print, I don't have any bolt. I like, when I see a paw print, I want to see a bolt go with it, acceleration. I like those two combined for some reason. So this doesn't give me any real indication of anything happening. It didn't go to the top of the chop box, so kind of didn't, it's not real pretty chop. It's not tradable. It's not anything. But then I get over here on this bar, and I've got what? I've got a paw print. I've got 2 bolts, even better. I've got a larger total volume than even up here, and larger than over here on this reversal bar. This is the largest total volume that I have around. Well, I got a 3,000 here, but that's way over coming down to the bottom of this run when this run was finishing. So anyway, this is the biggest total volume that I've got around. Oh, I see a 2,001 here. Still a pretty good one. I got double bolts. I got a paw print. And what is the main thing I love to see here? What are we seeing? A cluster laying on an existing brick wall. That I want to see every time. When we're nearing the bottom of the chop box, yeah, I want that one. That's telling me you've got a good a good chance of a breakout. And when it does break out, I'm taking it. In fact, that was probably a pretty quick move. But and then we also look at the volume. Always check your expected volume, and it has to be at least meeting. If it's not close to meeting, I mean, if the whole day is not very good volume, if it's pretty close to meeting, that might be okay. But if you've got a day where you've got exceeding like this, and all of a sudden you're dropping below exceeding, I mean, below expected, that gold line there is expected, you drop below that, I'm not taking that trade. Maybe I'll leave some on the table, but it's not as likely of a trade to profit. I want the best of the best of the best. Okay, so does that help a little bit with the chop breakouts? We're adding a little element, which is where it's laying a brick in the wall as it's leaving the chop box. And this one is particularly good because it has a paw print and bolt. I also like that combination a lot. 2 bolts, I mean, it doesn't have to have 2. I like 1 and a paw print, but 2 is even better. And they're both on the short side. We're going short. I love it. And here we've got another little confirmation. As I'm going down, and I'm going down here, and I'm seeing it starting to reverse, and I'm thinking, oh no, I'm wondering, is it going back up to its chop box to test it? Well, it doesn't ever, we have a bar range on here when this bar is forming, so it doesn't ever go past the bar range. But it also, when it starts to come back down, it gives us a paw print and a bolt. Gotta love it. Marion says it was a touchback. Let's see. I'm just reading here to see it touched back to the deviation level. Oh, this one did in the chop. Yeah, that was kind of nice. It was still in the chop box, so kind of iffy. But and at that point, you don't know you've got all this stuff in here. But so that will help you on your chop breakouts a little bit, I hope. Look for the brick in the wall as it's breaking out. Love those. And here it says cluster falling. Oh, it needs to say cluster or mini magnet falling on a current brick wall. A change I need to, correction I need to make. Okay, here's the fun one. Everybody wanted to know about the double eddies. And we caught this, I think there was 2 days in a row that we had these 2 really good ones. And they don't happen real often, but when they happen, I absolutely love them. So I had to put this in here. This is kind of a little documentation of my favorite trades. Basically, I'm taking these trades that I'm showing you today. These are the only ones I'm taking for the most part. I do a little bit of an advanced read on OP sometimes, but and I'll get into that not today. But okay, so we have our new early detection hidden divergence indicator. We have mode A, which is the little ones that I put on as little ones. I put the indicator on twice. I put it on and I make 1 mode A and 1 mode C, and this is mode C. I love, love, love it when I see you have brick wall, your reversal bar bounced off a brick wall with a cluster. Okay, that in itself I love. I can't see what the volume was, so I really don't know. It doesn't look like it was. It looks like it was less if you're looking at VAD. So it went further on less. Well, there we have a power play. But if you miss the power play, okay, you start to see a row of A, mode A. I want a row of it. Then you see at least 3 mode C, and we have a few more. And you get down to the bottom, and you're getting to your swing level, and so then they stop printing. When they get down to the previous level, they'll stop printing. And so hidden divergence, you normally think it's a reversal and you're heading back up. And that's the case many times. If this bar or this bar would have closed up, I would have probably taken that up for a hidden divergence trade. This bar with the cluster is where I want my hidden divergence. But I would also have wanted a mini magnet. I would also have wanted a wall down here, which I did not have, to give us something to push off from for your hidden divergence. But if the hidden divergence does not go back in the, as a reversal, I've noticed it'll often break through. And on this one in particular, oh my gosh, this is like a picture perfect setup. You had a mini magnet laid right on this rose brick wall, so it's laying another brick in the wall. You have a cluster. It's passing through, and this is the same example I just showed you a little while ago, but it's such a good example for both. I had to put it in there. And so your entry would be right below this bar as it closed down, and you're expecting it to go where? Another brick wall. That's where I protected. Might go further, but I'm going to protect there, and it got me out. You can see I left my markers in on this particular one. So it had expected volume exceeding. I always prefer for it to be exceeding, but sometimes we just don't get it. But anyway, I love, and this is what we call the double eddy. It's the early detection hidden divergence. It's kind of a creative way of Eddy, EDHD, kind of weird. But anyway, that's what I call the double eddy. A row of mode A, at least 3 mode C, and I'm going to take the reversal or the continuation if I have especially a cluster or a mini magnet putting a brick in the wall. And in this case, it was the mini magnet putting a brick in this wall. As it left, it's bouncing this bar off this mini magnet and coincidentally the half deviation. Gotta love that. That's when all your indicators are screaming, yeah, take it. You had your MVP going in the same direction. Your the thing that was not cooperating here was the apex pattern was going long. That was the one that didn't agree with us. But we had the majority of them saying, yeah, take this trade. They don't all have to match. We just want the majority. We want confluence. Any questions on the ADHD indicator with brick walls and clusters? I mean, I literally watch for pretty much this exact setup. I memorized my setups. I know which ones work the best, and these are the ones I use every day. Do I have them a lot? No, not necessarily. But between all these, you have plenty of trades to keep you busy. Okay, we're done. That's the last one. Wow. Okay, so I'm going to go through the frequently asked questions real quick, and then I will take questions. Okay, and I mentioned that. How far back do you look to find clusters and mini magnets on the same level? Again, I generally try to look in the same area around the same day. But if you've got a level of a lot of mini magnets, for example, we have seen some of those. Did I get that in here? I thought I did. Here's one. You got a lot of mini magnets in this little area. So you can see behind here, I have a ghost line. It's a line that is very light. It doesn't stand out. I'm not going to let it affect my taking a trade or not, but I want to watch for a cluster here because I've got a wall of mini magnets. That's really good level. So oftentimes I'll put a low ghost level in there I don't want more lines to confuse me. So I know I have not hit it. But if I see this happening, I might go back to the day before if I have it and see if I have a cluster that I missed. And then that would make a wall here. Otherwise, I'm going to watch it for the rest of the day and see if I have a wall. You don't need to go, I mean, if you're going looking for every single wall you can get, you're going to get a lot of confusion. You're going to have, it's just too much information and you're going to just be frozen. Yes, Randall says don't do it. That is true. Don't do it. Okay. Let's see. So I explained that. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and read through this one because another question, oh, it changed my order of my questions here. I guess I need to fix this. It likes to automatically do some formatting for you. And this was actually a question. This was question number 2. It's really good to bounce off a wall, but what about when you have walls in front of your setup? Okay, that's a question I get asked all the time. And that's when I look at the expected volume right here at the bottom of my chart. Is it, if there's a lot of levels in front of me, I want a lot of volume. I will look at the total volume of the setup bar from order print. If it's a really big volume bar, or if it's maybe the one before it and it has 2 combined and you have a really nice big total volume, that's telling me you got some power behind that one. If they're strong, if the expected volume and total volume is strong, your setup is solid. You probably got a good edge. But you can use a little more common sense also if you look at it. Look at are you in a apex? Is your apex pattern match? Are you in a green pattern or a red pattern? If you're taking a green, a long or a short. MVP arrows, do they match? VAD-E, does it match? Now, I'm not saying all these have to match. We just saw a minute ago where they didn't, but most of them did. You want to look for confluence of other indicators. Are things telling you, are they verifying that this is a good setup to take? And if they are, then yeah, you don't have to have every single thing agreeing. It doesn't often do that. But yeah, you've got some other things to kind of look at. So you want some confluence. Where do I put my stops? Well, for these trades, for these setups, the stops go in the same place they always have. For a power E, they go at the bottom of the bar. They go in all these setups, the stop has not changed. So you follow where the stop goes, wherever the original entry, wherever the original instructions show, if it's a power E, a power P, a power whatever it is, they still go in the same place. Walls don't change your entry or your exit, or your stop. They only add strength to your setup. If I don't have a wall, I'm not taking it. And so that's just where you put your stops and entries. They're the same. Okay, I had to put this one in here just to let everybody know. I know you're waiting for it. How do you use order prints to confirm a touchback? I do not want to go into that today because that's going to take a whole THT in itself. But there is a way to tell if order prints will confirm your touchback for you. It's awesome. I wouldn't take a touchback unless OP confirms it. And I know you don't know how to do that. It will be coming. I don't want this webinar to extend and go really long, so I'm going to do that another day. I wanted to go through a chart and actually walk through a day's trade, but again, it's getting to be a long webinar, so I think what we'll do is I'll take some questions, and after people have a chance to watch this over the next week, I'll see what other questions come up, and so I can address those. And then we'll do a replay session. I'm not saying next Saturday for sure, Kevin, maybe not. But we'll do a replay session or just look at a chart and go trade by trade by trade and how to handle the setups as they come and as a group and do it all together. And so you have that to look back on and watch and all that kind of stuff And I wanted to do that today, but we're not going to have a chance. I'd rather do smaller webinars where you can actually grab the webinar you actually want to see and watch it rather than watch 1, 2, or 3 hour video. That's just way too much. So we're going to do it this way today. I wanted to go through the rules, the tips, the tricks, all the stuff. These setups that are in this particular forum post are what I trade right now. I mean, my trading from the early days of SEES has not changed in the fact that it's still those P's and swings and slings and elevators and all that stuff. It's still the same, but just we've laser focused. We've added new ways to tell you which ones are the best, which ones might not work. I mean, anything can happen at any time. We all know that. It's trading. But these are the setups that are the most likely to profit for you. Love, love, love them. So I wanted to share them with you because they work. So what questions does everybody have? What did I not cover? And I want to thank the people that have been posting charts, because if they would not have been posting charts, I would not know the confusion that has ensued with this stuff. I mean, you guys, most people will tend to look at this, they'll look at the forum post, they'll watch the video, and they'll think they've got it. I guarantee you, you're not going to have everything. It is so frustrating to see that, because people that mark up their charts and they ask me questions, and especially the chart markups, that's where I can really see what they understand and what they don't understand. And that's how this THT came about. I saw a lot of misconceptions. And so I decided, yikes, we need to do a THT so that we I can get rid of those misconceptions and get everybody on the right track, because this is so amazing. And we have all paid members of Apex have mentor groups included. If you want to join a mentor group, if you're not now, there's a sign up in the forum or on the website. I'm not sure just where it is, but there's a sign up. Put in a help desk ticket if you can't find it. And Apex offers more help than anyone else. Workspaces are a headache, Eugene says. Oh my gosh, they're not half the headache as not having them. You have to save your workspace in order to keep your walls. And I understand why you say workspaces are a headache, because they're confusing. You have to have 2 workspaces open in order to close the one you use all the time. You need a blank one open, and then you also need the workspace open that you work with, that you're working on. And then at the end of the day, you need to save that workspace and close it. And then the only one you want open is basically a blank one. So when you open NinjaTrader, you connect your feeds, then you open your workspace. And before you're done, you close that workspace so that when you pull up your charts, they aren't trying to pull up. When you pull up NinjaTrader, they aren't trying to pull up when you first pull up NinjaTrader. You want to pull up a blank workspace. Always leave that blank workspace open. Will the workspace requirement change in NT8? I don't believe so. No. At this point, no. It still needs that workspace opened and closed in NT8. Not to say that it won't change, but at this point, it still does. And then the next question is going to be, when are we going to get NT8? And the answer is still, I'm not sure. We're still working on it. I'm doing my best to crash it every time I can so that it doesn't crash on you guys. And we're waiting right now for Ninja to fix an error that our programmer found in the data. And so when Ben gets that, or when Ninja gets that fixed and gets it back to Ben, then he will make the adjustments we need to make. And they actually just emailed him and said that it will be, they think they'll have it done fairly soon, which I thought, wow, are we going to see that like next year or something. I mean, a year from now because it's Ninja. Wow. So anyway, it's looking good. That's all I can say. It'll, the minute we get it done, of course we want to get it out, but not quite there yet. Okay, I'm going back up to questions. What about a power X and a trend? It's the same as a power X that's a reversal, except that if a power X is in a trend, I want the cluster going through a brick wall. And that's something I guess I didn't make very clear. It's in the forum post, but I didn't mention it. If you have, no, it's not really there. If you have a reversal, here's the one I'm looking for. If you have a reversal setup, like this power X, you want a wall at the bottom. It's a power X going up. You want the wall if you're going down, you'd want the wall at the top. You want the wall on the end of, pretty close to the end. It could be going through the wick a little bit, but you want it pretty within 5 ticks of the end, or real close to just the edge. If it's in the middle of a trend, I want the cluster to fall on an existing wall if I can get it there. That's the best. How do you avoid overcrowding and very confusing when the chart is crowded? That's a toughie because sometimes you can get a lot of walls, and a lot of walls in one area means when you look at the bigger picture, you got chop there. And it could be that you could go from wall to wall. You know, this would have been an okay little scalp going from wall to wall. I'm not saying scalp it from wall to wall. I'm just saying you had a setup. If you had a setup here at the top of the wall and you expected it to go down to the next, well, even here, these aren't, 2 clusters, and this is a wall here. And if you expected it to go to the next wall, that wouldn't be a horrible little scalp. 20 ticks or so, and it went down to the next wall. So if they're real close, really close together, I leave the strongest ones and I take out. The others. A wall setup is already in SEES with OP. Well, yes and no. SEES with OP template, it does have clusters and mini magnets showing, and it has the X. Yes, it has the X, the OPX, and here's an OPX indicating you go down. Okay, but it has all that printing. The walls are something you have to manually see at this point in time, and you have to plot the walls. And I kind of color code mine so that I know what. I know that like this rose one stands out. It's a strong level, and it has been for a week. So I want to change the color so I know no matter what happens, I don't want to take that one out. I'm leaving it until the price doesn't react to it. And you can see when it hit this, it bounced, comes back up, goes through it, and it comes down and tests it again. It's affecting the price. So not sure why we need 2 workspaces. You usually have one open and draw any lines and save the workspace, then delete the line when you no longer need it. Why do we need 2? Because when you bring up your chart, you can, well, first of all, you can never close the last workspace. You can't close it. And when you bring up a chart, you need to bring up a chart. When you bring up Ninja, you need to bring up a blank workspace so that you can connect your feeds and you don't have a feed data disruption when your charts are loading. So you have to be able to open and close that workspace after your feed is connected. A little bit confusing, but if you still don't understand it, Charlie, ask in your mentor group, and we'll explain it a little bit more. Do you still use walls when trading spreads and binaries? Not just yes, Eugene, but heck yes. I wouldn't trade anything without walls anymore. In fact, when I'm checking somebody's charts and they don't have walls on, I feel like it's just a naked chart anymore. It's crazy, but I want a wall to bounce any setup off from myself. Okay. Any other questions? I may have missed some. If I did, please post them again. Oh, I see one. Are we still using 1,000 as a threshold? I still use 1,000. What I do is actually, I hate to get into this, but I use 1,000 on one chart, and I don't remember. I think it's my SEES chart. I have 1,000 on, and then in my order prints, I have it a little lower. I think I have it at 700 on my order prints so that I can see if there was a cluster. I use the 1,000 from my SEES for trading mostly, but I want to see if there's another cluster. Maybe the volume sucks, and so I want to be able to see if maybe there was one and it just wasn't quite 1,000. The threshold in a cluster is simply your total volume of the bar. That is your last check. Your cluster won't print if that threshold is not met. For example, if your threshold is 1,000, that bar has to have a total volume of 1,000 before that cluster will print. So if that's what that is. So if you have a cluster threshold of 700, 750, your total volume has to be 750 before a cluster will print. That weeds out the clusters that happen because you have like almost no volume. When you have like 40, 40, 40 for a total volume, and all of a sudden you have 200, you're going to have a cluster, but you don't want to trade off that cluster. That's awful. And will higher threshold give you stronger walls in general? I think so, Marion. That's where this hasn't been around quite long enough to have those details all figured out, but we're getting there. We're getting there. I just stick with, I tend to do something that works and I stick with it. So I increase my threshold and I leave it. Just like I started doing SEES 3.5 years ago, and I'm still doing SEES. It works. You don't change what works. I mean, yes, we test what works when we get new stuff, and see what we can do with it. But generally speaking, if it works, I'm not going to mess with it for my live trading. How about walls in replaying a month ago? Do we have to keep the second set and keep updating them for each day of replay? If you're replaying, I would. You're replaying just like you're trading live. So if I were replaying, if I'm doing practicing in replay, I would probably replay the day before to get some walls, and then start my replay the next day and practice from the next day on. And yes, I would adjust my walls because it's just like I would be trading. For me, because I do NQ in the morning, it's the most volatile. It's not the most volatile. That's the most volatile time to trade NQ usually, and it's been very, very good to me. I used to love YM. It hasn't been, I don't know what it's been lately because I haven't watched it, but it quit being very volatile. It didn't move enough for a while, so I switched to NQ. So, and a lot of people are starting to trade TF, which is fabulous. I've seen a lot of people do wonderful things with TF. So, NQ is not the only thing. It works on all of it. It's a overall amazing thing. I wouldn't trade anything without a brick wall myself. Gary says use a separate workspace for replay. That's a good idea. So that's, anyway. And Joe says it's working on GU. Hey, Joe. You're testing GU. He's the GU master. He knows that thing like the back of his hand. So that's what other questions do we have that I've missed? And then we're going to wrap it up because I'm not John. I don't want it to go for 2-3 hours. I want to get it short and sweet. Yeah, this isn't an official training. It's just a THT, so we don't let it go to be as long as the official training. Anyway, okay. When will the recording be posted? I imagine as soon as it's rendered and it can be posted. I would say check back in just a little while. I will put the link to it. I don't know where it'll go for sure. If it'll go in the THT area or whatever, but it'll be on YouTube also, Jack. And the link to it will be on this Power Trading with Walls section. I try to keep all the links together. Yeah, so it will be, I would imagine, in a few hours. The longer it is, the longer it takes to render and get posted. So I want to keep it short. We'll try and do another one fairly soon, but I want this to sink in. I want people to see it. I want to know what questions I need to address. That way we can do the next one and address a few questions and then go into a replay session and, look at these trades and actually do them as a group. So, that's a really good question, Nevo. In a crazy day like yesterday, affected by news, I am ignoring those walls. I did not mark one wall from yesterday, and I do not plan on it. That was just complete craziness. I'm not messing with it. Now, I've noticed usually even crazy days like that, it will respect levels. So if you marked them, I think what it's going to do mainly is just reinforce existing ones, but I'm not going to add any new ones. On a crazy day like that, when we have FOMC day, no, I'm not going to go marking levels. Not doing it. Usually those just hit the same levels over and over. I mean, they hit existing levels because those are already important. Good question. Yeah, I want to keep it as simple as I can. And the more levels you have, the more confusing it gets. I mean, the confusion does clear a little bit. It really is. It's not so bad, but in the beginning, it's really overload. Okay, so we got all the questions, and we're done. Okay, happy Saturday. Have a great day. We're done, Cameron.